Welcome, everyone. We're glad you're here today to have a hearing on the Pacific Salmon Stronghold Conservation Act, and we appreciate all of you being here today to give testimony on that important piece of legislation. Wild Pacific salmon are central to the culture, economy, and environment and identity of the Pacific Northwest and have played a key role in our region's history. For centuries, American Indian tribes of western northern America have relied on salmon for their livelihood, well-being, cultural, and spiritual connection that today remains as strong as ever. As an icon of the Pacific Northwest, wild salmon are at the heart of what identifies my home state of Washington and the surrounding region. And today, salmon continue to be a vital part of our communities up and down the Pacific coast, providing billions of dollars of economic activity and thousands of jobs. In Washington state, commercial fishing for salmon generated over $26 million in revenues and supported over 500 jobs in 2006. That same year, Washington sport fishing generated $130 million in net economic activity. And in Alaska, the salmon stronghold runs in Bristol Bay alone are estimated to support over 5,500 full-time jobs and direct economic expenditures of over $3 million each year. That is why I've worked so hard for the salmon recovery programs and funding, including the increase in the Pacific Coastal Salmon Recovery Fund. Since its inception in 2000, the Pacific Coastal Salmon Recovery Fund has allowed us to focus our efforts in various counties, conservation districts, and on average remove over 200 barriers to fish passage and open up nearly 500 miles of habitat each year. That's 2,200 barriers removed and over 4,000 miles of habitat restored. I will continue to fight to protect and increase the Salmon Recovery Fund, but more needs to be done. Current federal salmon recovery efforts are focused heavily on salmon listed as the Endangered Species Act, basically seeking to restore what we have lost. While recovering depleted populations is essential, we cannot forget that it is also important to protect the healthy salmon populations we still have. For salmon stocks that are still healthy today, it is much smarter, more cost-effective to preserve them now before their population dip low and to trigger the Endangered Species Act and their protections. Rather than waiting until after they have run into trouble, act now. Ultimately, saving the Pacific salmon isn't just about recovering threatened and endangered stocks, it's also about protecting healthy populations. That's why last year I introduced legislation that we are here to discuss today, the Pacific Salmon Stronghold Conservation Act of 2009. And I'm proud to say that this legislation was introduced and co-sponsored by every senator from the Pacific Coast states, including Senator Murkowski, Senator Murray, Senator Wyden, Senator Boxer, Senator Feinstein, Senator Merkley, and Senator Begich. I'm also pleased that a companion bill is making its way through the House of Representatives with Representative Mike Thompson as the lead sponsor and support of 42 co-sponsors. The Pacific Salmon Stronghold Conservation Act was written to achieve a simple goal: to ensure the survival of the Pacific salmon by making sure that our healthy salmon populations get the protection they deserve. It is a stunning fact that the states of California, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington are roughly 20% of the salmon habitat and support the salmon abundance. The state of Alaska, as a regional stronghold, produces more than 1/3 of all Pacific salmon in North America. This legislation will protect these critically important wild salmon strongholds. By establishing a cooperative public-private salmon stronghold partnership, this bill will break down the old barriers between federal, state, and tribal governments, private landowners, and non-governmental organizations. It will streamline and coordinate our efforts towards a unified, clearly defined, science-based approach for conservation of salmon stronghold populations. And it will establish a much-needed grant and technical assistance program to leverage private dollars in support of targeted high-impact projects in the stronghold watersheds. Establishing this kind of voluntary incentive-based program will bring people together to accelerate the highest priority conservation actions needed to shore up our network of healthy salmon populations, serving as a buffer against our future losses among vulnerable stock. Restoring the threatened and endangered salmon in the Pacific Northwest is an imperative, as wild Pacific salmon are a true icon of the western northern America. It is time to increase funding for recovery efforts, but also essential that we bring into focus prevention. And it's time to adopt the kind of comprehensive solution that can solidify wild Pacific salmon's rightful place for generations to come. And I know that we're going to turn to our witnesses. We're glad that Dr. Gordon Reeves, a research fish biologist for the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Forest Services Pacific Northwest Research Station from Corvallis, Oregon, is with us. Welcome. Mr. Guido Rahr, President and CEO of Wild Salmon Center, Portland, Oregon. Ms. Sarah Laborde, Special Assistant Director for the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, and Mr. Joe Childress, immediate past President of United Fishermen of Alaska, and the co-vice chair of the advisory panel for the North Pacific Fisheries Management Council. Welcome to you all, and we're glad you're here.